The next morning, the mood inside Heir Group's headquarters was unusually tense. Rumors had been spreading, something about a new acquisition that could either launch the company into a higher league or drag it into dangerous debt. In the sleek glass-walled boardroom, directors murmured in low voices as they waited for the meeting to begin. Lucien Cross entered quietly and took his usual seat at the far end of the table. His silver-gray eyes were calm, his posture unhurried. The single dangling silver crescent moon earring on his left ear caught a brief glint of the overhead light as he set down his notebook. Around him, a few junior analysts whispered, "That's him, the numbers guy Vivian always keeps around." The other answered, "Yeah, smart, I heard, but no presence. Doesn't seem like CEO material." Lucien acted as though he hadn't heard them. He flipped open his folder and reviewed his projections one last time. A few minutes later, the glass door opened and Vivian Hale stepped in, poised and confident in a slate blue suit. Behind her came Damien Voss, tall, broad-shouldered, exuding an easy charm that instantly shifted the room's attention. Damien greeted the directors one by one with a practiced smile. When his eyes briefly passed over Lucien, they held neither warmth nor hostility, simply the kind of polite indifference one reserves for a background figure. Vivian took the head seat at the table. Her glance flicked toward Lucien for the briefest moment, then turned to Damien. "Let's begin. We have a major opportunity to discuss." Charts and numbers appeared on the large screen. One director summarized the potential acquisition of a rival tech logistics firm. Excitement rippled around the table. The rival's network was attractive, but the deal was costly. When the discussion opened to comments, Lucien raised his hand slightly and said, "Based on the target's quarterly reports and their current debt ratio, our integration costs would be 32% higher than what's been presented. The projected profit curve flattens in the third year unless we restructure their warehousing strategy." A faint hush fell. The directors glanced at each other. It was the first substantive challenge of the morning. Vivian's eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. "We appreciate the numbers, Mr. Cross, but business isn't run by charts alone. We need bold moves. Playing too safe can be more dangerous than taking a risk." Before Lucien could reply, Damien leaned forward, smiling. "If I may, I agree that restructuring the warehousing strategy is crucial. In fact, if we streamline it early in the acquisition, we can save at least 15% of operational costs." The same idea, repackaged in Damien's confident tone, suddenly sounded visionary. Several directors nodded in approval. Lucien lowered his gaze to his notes, his expression unreadable. The small crescent earring swayed slightly as he tilted his head, reflecting the cold white light. The board dispersed. Lucien lingered for a moment, gathering his papers. Vivian was checking her messages when he approached. "You dismissed my analysis in there, then accepted the same point from Damien. Was that necessary?" She looked up, her emerald eyes cool. "You're good with figures, Lucien, but strategy is more than figures. Damien knows how to lead a room. You don't." He stood still, his tone calm but firmer. "A leader doesn't need to drown out the truth to be heard." Vivian's lips curved in a faint smile, not of amusement, but of polite dismissal. "Let's not do this here. We'll talk later." She swept past him, the click of her heels fading down the corridor. For a moment, Lucien remained by the long glass window of the hallway, looking at his own reflection, the silver crescent earring catching the late morning light. He gave no sign of anger, only a slight tightening at the corner of his mouth. There had been times in the past year when he'd almost told Vivian the truth, about his name, about the Cross family tradition that had sent him into the world without the shield of wealth. But every time he held his tongue, The tradition was meant to temper one's spirit, to test character in the face of hardship. Revealing it too soon would have meant he had failed that test. That evening, in a quiet corner of an exclusive restaurant, Vivian and Damien sat across from each other. The soft glow of candlelight reflected in Vivian's emerald eyes. Damien said, "You handled the meeting well today. I'd say you've got the board eating from your hand." Vivian gave a small laugh. "You were the one who carried the point across. The directors listened to confidence, not just reports." Damien leaned in slightly. "Confidence is easy when the facts line up. We just need to make sure certain people don't keep dragging their feet." Vivian said nothing, but the flicker in her eyes told its own story. Meanwhile, Lucien sat alone at a quiet cafe near his modest apartment. He had a notebook open in front of him, numbers and notes sketched in a neat hand. The light from the lamp above cast a soft gleam on the crescent earring as it swayed gently when he bent to write. A message popped up on his phone, a simple one from his uncle. The elders ask, "Are you learning what you need to learn?" Lucien stared at the words for a long moment, then set the phone face down on the table. He murmured to himself almost inaudibly, "I'm learning, just not what they expect." That night, the city skyline glittered with ambition, but in the quiet cafe corner, the silver crescent at Lucien's ear glinted in the lamplight like a silent promise that he would remember both who he was and what he must become. Neither Vivian nor Damien nor anyone in Heir Group yet realized that the man they dismissed as a mere analyst was heir to one of the most formidable business dynasties in the country. The coming days would test his patience and temper his resolve. But the tradition of the Cross family demanded nothing less. Thus ended the second chapter of Lucien Cross's hidden journey. The first open cuts of betrayal laid bare, the first quiet sparks of the steel he would one day wield.
Thank you for sharing this chapter with us at Velvet Chapters Brew. Comment, like, and subscribe to see where the next page takes us.